Is Nushafika, and this is my title for my FYP project. For the introduction, water is known as the most important to human and environment, which is being the key element of the sustained living. So the conservation of water is really important for the effort of maintaining and preserving the quality of the water. So it should have the system treatment in order to sustain the greywater from being waste, for example like physical treatment, biological and chemical treatment according to Sonnen. So definition of the ablutions. So first, ablution is the procedure in Islam that focusing on the cleansing of the different parts of the body. In faith, ablution is like kind of ritual purifications. Typically, it include washing of the mouth, arms, feet, head, and nostrils, and other parts with water. So definition for the greywater. The greywater is meaning the water from the bathtub, washing machine, sink, which is not contaminated as the fecal contamination like water, toilet water, which is black water. Continue to the problem statement. So there is a lot of greywater producing, especially from the Islamic country, because majority of country, a lot have mosques that produce a large amount of the ablution greywater. For example, like Indonesia, which are the largest Muslim population in the world that have about 205 million people according to Pew Forum Demographic Study. Indonesia have the large amount of the mosques, about 700,000, definitely producing a large of greywater, mainly from the ablution which are not included with other activity like washing machine, sink and other activity to produce the greywater. For the other country, for example like Malaysia, Saudi Arabia and Middle East can be found to be the one of the major producer of the greywater in the world. So other problem, for example like insufficient of the fresh water in Malaysia, especially state in Selangor, that having facing water issues since decade ago. So according to Malaysia Water Association, Selangor has the highest water supply issue, about 49.5% in 2016, and for the year 2017 it reached more higher, about 62.4%. So about the ablution greywater treatment system seems to be the alternative of the water for the daily use. However, people do not concern of this kind of alternative as the water quality is very dubious. So a study need to be conducted in order to know public perception towards this system and the greywater quality. Thus, this study is going to review and propose the sustainable treatment system of the ablution greywater for the toilet, flushing and landscape irrigation. So moving on for the objective. Aim of this study to propose the sustainable treatment of ablution greywater for toilet flushing and landscape irrigations for the UTM mosque. Therefore, the research of objective will be carried as follow. First is to identify the public perception on the sustainable treatment of the ablution greywater for toilet flushing and landscape irrigations. Second, to assess the comparison review by analysis literature review, existing system, expert report in ablution greywater treatment, and propose the design for the greywater treatment in UTM mosque. So, move on to the literature review. First, in the literature review is the sustainable of wastewater. So the principle of the wastewater is about the separation on the harmful and undesired for the water to be avoided, some particle which is turning into utilized substance. So there is a few ways to treat the water, which is chemically, physically and biological process. So for the research, the physical treatment are the most relevant and efficient and inexpensive compared to the others. It is because the greywater producing for the ablution, which have only particles and microorganisms mainly for the gargling. The greywater treatment system has so much benefit in order saving water in the mosque for other purposes. So the second is the component of the greywater treatment. For this study, the physical is the main focus on the finding for the best sustainable of the ablution greywater treatment system. So for the primary component, which is screening, equalizing, while for the secondary is the gravity filtration and sand filtration, and lastly is the chlorinations. So the primary and secondary water treatment are really useful for the building that have large community in order to save intake of the fresh water, for example like hostel, residency, and school to treat the greywater to tune of about 1,000 into or 2000 liters per day. Potential diagram is shown in the figure below. So for the ablation greywater characteristic, the table below show the water quality of the ablation water, which is take for alkane mass. It shows the water quality parameters such as turbidity, TDSD, TSS, DO, COD, BOD, and other quality of ablation greywater that we can identify. So several example of ablation greywater that been studied, which is from the Indonesia, Oman, and Saudi Arabia. So continue to the methodology. So greywater treatment system is one of the alternatives for saving by the reused water for the other purposes. For this research, there are several proposed methods for the research to complete the objective. So the aim of this study to study on the sustainable treatment system of ablation greywater for the toilet flushing and landscape. So for the first objective is to identify the public perceptions on the sustainable treatment system of ablation greywater for the toilet flushing and landscape. So we are conducting the questionnaire, which is using the method quantitative and qualitative method, targeting on the masjid UTM. So the scope of this study is basically basic knowledge on the system, important system, accept of the system, expectation effect of the system, and the result, the community not too exposed to the system, but they agree on the importance of sustainable treatment system of the ablation greywater. So we continue to the second objective, which is to assess the comprehensive review by analyzing literature existing system as per report in ablation greywater treatment and propose the design for the greywater treatment in mosque. So first of the methodology is to the article of journal have been researched using the different platform, which is Google Scholar, Science Direct, and Scopius. So about total 330 reference, approximately 15 reference have been selected for this research. So keyword related to the system have been highlighted. A few tables have been constructed based on the analyzations, and critical review discussion for the proposed design is being conducted. So we continue to the result analysis. This analysis will include the pattern of the questionnaire that have been answered the first objective of this research, which is including the identify the public perception on the sustainable treatment system of ablation greywater for toilet flushing and landscape. So basically, for the first question, it showed that about 38 and 42 strongly agree, and about 20% choose average about the function of the system, likely to the lack of the exposure on the sustainable treatment system of ablation greywater. From here, you can conclude that public has been exposed the sustainable treatment system of ablation greywater. For the next question, about 30% of strongly agree and 36 agree for these statements. It's due to the confidence of the system that can be used for the drinking and other purposes. Meanwhile, about 2 and 4% of the respondents which are disagree and strongly disagree about of the uses of the ablation greywater as the drinking water. This can be assumed due to the ablation greywater quality problem, which make people think that it's not safe, especially in drinking water nowadays. Next is the respondent belief that sustainable treatment of the ablation greywater as an alternative to water supply, which give about at least 6% of agree and strong agree. So the demand of the fresh water keep increasing from day to day. So last but not least, the question about 5 component combined system, which is primary system, secondary and secondary treatment 2, and distribution. So most respondents agree that system have 5 elements, which is about 36 agree and 36 for strongly agree. Whereas 28% of the respondents have average opinion on component sustainable treatment system of ablation greywater is made due to the less exposure of the sustainable treatment system. So overall, it can conclude that the most of the respondents have the basic knowledge of the sustainable treatment of ablation greywater. Move on the importance of the system survey, which is about 70% is strongly agree about the system. It can conclude that respondents believe on the importance of the substance treatment of Ablution Greywater. So the implement of the system can educate people on the sustainable water management, as the system use the concept of recycling the water. Then for the second questions, that the system could be alternative for the water supply. Only about 40% have averaged on the statement, maybe due to the water quality will be different and not safe to be used. However, there is such a huge positive feedback on the system. So last but not least, the most important is the sustainable operation water can reduce reduce the water bills. About 82% agree on this importance. So nevertheless, the respondents did not agree on the system can reduce bills, as the people think that the system will be have high cost, especially for their maintenance. Overall, majority respondents have good perception on this system. So next, about the question, show that the highest percentage, about 86%, agree on the greywater system can reduce the bill if installed in other buildings. So the water can be reduced as the fresh water consumption are lesser, which is depends on the Ablution greywater treatment system. So the responding also agree that system can be reduced the demand on the treated water in measure that give about 60% agree and 38% strongly agree. So higher demand on the treated water will lead to water crisis. So thus installation of this system can be reduced depending on the treated water, can avoid the water crisis problem in Malaysia. Overall, it can be said that respondents expect the good result from this system. So next, for the result acceptance of the system. So basically about 46%, which is respondent agree Ablution greywater is needed in certain buildings. So it should be implemented, especially in huge building that consume high water supply. So about only 2% of the questions respondent did not agree. And for the next, so this is for the open-ended question, which you can see the highest is in the category is safe water from the public, and the second highest is the sustainable good technology. So the main reason for this is that greywater recycle can help the property owner reduce their building water consumption, according to Jennifer. So the sustainable and good technology, so the green technology, namely sand filtration and screening, can provide the most effective sustainable approach to dealing with challenging water problem. So according to Siva Kumar. So next is the second objective, which is the assess a comprehensive review by analysis the teacher. So this is the comparative assess all the treatment. For the first primary treatment, we use the sand filtrations, and for the secondary, we use activated carbon. And for the secondary treatment 2, we use ultraviolet units. And lastly, this is the proposed design to grey water treatment in UTM MOS. So as conclusions, the study reviewed the grey water characteristic, treatment system, and perception of the grey water for the people using in the UTM MOS. So the perception of grey water use closely related to the choice of the most user. We want to use the grey water that do not involve personal contact, for example like landscape, irrigation, and toilet flushings. So in conclusion, the objective of the preparations of comprehensive review was conducted, which are related by analyzing literature, existing system, expert report in Ablution greywater, and finally proposed the design for the greywater treatment system. MOS was successfully conducted. So thank you.